Hi, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV and our public meeting. My name is Joseph Patterson, UIC President, and tonight we're going to be chatting about what the three active registered political parties have in mind in terms of strategy for this election. Let me welcome on stage a number of my colleagues. We have Ms. Claudia Barrett, who's our General Secretary. We have Ms. Kima Hay, who's our Deputy General Secretary and the Parish Manager for St. Catherine. We have Mr. Bernardo Willie, who is the Acting VP for Cornwall, as well as the Parish Manager for Westmoreland. And joining us, I also see Director Chopanowski and Mr. Winston Wright, who is our acting VP for Cornwall and our candidate for Westmoreland Eastern and spokesperson on the justice portfolio as well. Welcome and good night to all of you. How are you doing today? I'll have to pick on somebody. How are you tonight, Mrs. Barrett?
I'm doing just great. I had a great day, so I'm in a good place mentally right now.
Excellent. I wish I could say the same. My day was a very hectic day and almost depressing, but I made it through to this side of the day. So I'm glad to be here. Director Chopanowski, how are you doing?
I'm here, sir. I've survived the day. As you know, children here, I want everyone in the audience to understand that we're just regular people with family life. We're very busy. So for us to commit ourselves to the UIC to bring you these lives every night, let's work together to bring more people to the live, okay? Because this is information that everyone should be hearing. Thank you so much.
Okay. Now I feel like I just listened to the school principal. Thank you, Madam Director. Madam Kima Hay, how are you doing tonight?
I am well, thank you. I hope you're doing great as well. Yeah, I'm just ready to hear what the people have to say and to be here for the support.
Excellent. Mr. Willie, how are you doing, sir? Mr. Willie in Westmoreland, can we hear your voice? Are you okay? Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, man. I'm fine.
Wonderful. How was your day today?
Oh, it was great at some point. Your day will not be filled right through in terms of how you want it, but it's fine.
Okay, good. Well, the good thing is you're here with us tonight. We have, as usual, on the live, I'm seeing Craig McKenzie saying shalom, Lenford Duffus, let's get the ball rolling now, and Magalian. I wonder if is that MAGA? Did the person mean MAGA? Is it MAGA Lion? And I'm saying Magalian all this time.
MAGA Lion.
Is it MAGA Lion or MAGA Lion? There are two.
MAGA Lion.
MAGA
Jamaican,
Lion,
not American.
Okay, it's not MAGA. All right. Mr. McKenzie says, pray and live. Mr. Wright, how are you doing, sir? Over there in Westmoreland as well.
Good evening, Mr. President. Good evening, everyone. Viewers and listeners. I am doing well. I'm on my soapbox this morning. Well, from this morning. Okay. As you can imagine. The Speaker's Corner in the UK, we need a couple of those in Jamaica. I think I'll be there every day. I swear.
Good. Please do. Good night, Mr. Douglas Harper. Good to see you on as well. MAGA Lion says it's okay both ways. So he's okay with MAGA Lion and he's okay with MAGA Lion. All right. Well, since we're in Jamaica, we'll go with MAGA Lion, no?
Yes.
MAGA Lion. MAGA Lion. All right. So our topic for tonight is a very generic topic. The question was asked, can the UIC win? Can the UIC win? That was the leading topic for what we put out there. I'd love to hear from the audience before we speak about whether the UIC can win. So if you're nearby your chat button, type a yes or a no, whether you think the UIC can win or not. Can the UIC win? And we're talking about the general elections. So there are lots of factors for us to look at in terms of the UIC winning or losing. And Narada Wellington, I sure hope so. And Margaret says yes. And Ja Valdo Just says good night, sir and members. Please count on my vote. So even if we can't win, you can count on some people's vote. Norman Clark says no. No, we can't win. Douglas Arthur says definitely can win some seats in this coming election. So Douglas is always diplomatic in us, saying color. Yes, you can win, and then he continues some seat. He's being very realistic.
Yes.
For the UIC to win, there are a number of things that has to be addressed, a number of factors that needs to be addressed for the UIC to win. But before we answer the question, can the UIC win? I want us to look at the strategy that is being proposed or that is being activated by the two colonial parties. And I'm going to talk a bit about the UIC strategy. What do you see as the strategy? Who wants to go first? What do you see as the JLP's approach to this election? How do you view that approach? What do you think of it? How would you define their approach in the upcoming election? What's their strategy from your vantage point?
I can go.
Go right ahead, Madam Bar.
So what I see happening is a lot of handouts. I also see things, for example, roads are being built, which is not beneficial to the massive. Roads are being built, but not properly being built because as you get a shower of rain, half it gone. And stuff like this. So they continue to do these things as if something really, really happened. But it is just for the election. All our work are just for the election. I don't see it.
Yeah.
What is happening working out for the long term, but it's just to catch the crowd.
So from your vantage point, it's really a trick. They're trying to trick the people, all right. Anybody else have a thought on that? On what they see coming from the JLP in terms of their campaign strategy?
Yes, sir. It's the same trick every election. Give some handouts, fix the road. What I noticed is, as I was driving through certain areas in Jamaica, if it's a JLP area, everything looks good, the road is good, but as soon as it branches out into maybe a PNP area, it's disaster. The roads are bad. So that's what I noticed there, is that during the election time, you have these wonderful speeches, and of course, some of the ideas they steal from the UIC and create it like it's their own to win the people over, to give them these emotional words, but there's no action behind the words. And for the life of me, I don't understand why so many Jamaicans are believing these people. It doesn't even make sense, but enough of me for right now.
Okay. Well, Marga Lyon says they don't have a substantial strategy, just pure playing with the frail minds. If I was making the rules, both green and orange would automatically be disqualified. Well said, Marga Lyon. One perfect love, Carol Spence. Good to see you on. Anybody else have any thoughts on the JLP strategy? Any other thoughts? Any other observations that you may have made? All right. No other thoughts? Well, from my perspective, the JLP strategy is to bribe the people with some supposedly tax give backs. They want to give back. They're giving back 20,000 to persons. At the same time, they're trying to entrap the people with needs. If I'm not wrong, you have to have the needs in order to pick up your 20, no? So they're twinning it. They're trying to achieve their colonial master's objective while bribing us. So you want, by the way, they're extending the deadline for you to get your 20. The deadline is being extended, and the net is being expanded because they realize that it's catching, it's taking on. So people, or the alternative, it's not catching on, and they want to give it more time. But they know that we love the idea of getting something for free. That's one of the destructive character traits that they have bred into us, where we don't analyze things. We just look for the simplicity of getting something for free. And that's why over the years, when anybody come to us and giving us something for free, we drop our guard. So if they're going to give us a bus or a piece of medical equipment or a fire truck or whatever, we just drop the guard and just say, come. Without everybody to think and say, what is here? So that's why we get so entangled, and find ourselves don't have any position. We have we just blow with the wind. Whichever government wins in the US, they come and just twist us. So if they want us to twist up the mind of our kids, we do it. If they want us to turn our boys into girls, we do it. If they want whatever, because we have lost the capacity to think, and we don't have a population that is thinking and reasoning. So they get away with that.
Easy for them.
Yeah. So my observation is that they are, in fact, entrapping the people with the needs thing and to get that $20,000 there. And as you said, Miss Barrett, they're doing some road works as well. But these are very temporary road works. They're going to patch up some roads. We're going to feel good because we put some tar in and it looked good for a while.
Oh yes.
It's, nice. Andrew, work.
Smooth work. But you see a lot of that on the platforms about ease working.
Yes. And I wonder, at what point, how often can you trick a dog? For example, you have a dog and you're going to trick him. Every time you give him a little bit of food, and when he start eating, just give him a big lick with a stick. After a while, him not come to you, though.
Exactly. Prefer they feel hungry.
Him not get no more big lick. Him guys say, no, sir. I will forego this little bit of food here because of big lick. But we just seem to love the lick.
Yeah, man.
We get pure big lick, and 80 years of big lick we get, They fool us with the same thing, the same little morsel of something, whether it's a little bit of patching of roads or a little bit of giveaways during the time leading up to the election. From me, a boy, 5 years old until now, it's the same thing. They always come and friend you up just before the election, and then you vote for them, and then a few years down the road now, you hate them, and you can't stand for them. Like, no, remember how people used to love Andrew? How it was the best thing since sliced bread, and everybody jumping for joy and cheering young people time now. I know they hate them guts.
A different thing. Yeah. Sir, growing up, Mama used to say to me, and she have different names she called me for different situations. So she'd say, girl, no take nothing from nobody. Because anybody give you sitting, they might expect back sitting.
Absolutely.
So, me have that from me picking me grow with that. Me no want nothing free, I'll work for what I want.
Exactly. Well, that's not the mentality that has been bred into us. We love the freeness thing here and stuff. But the one thing for sure though is that a part of their strategy will be the 500 million that they will get from the PSOJ oligarchs as well. So the PSOJ will no doubt be providing them, both of them, equal amounts, because they roughly give the same amount to each of them, to buy votes again. So a big part of all campaigns is vote buying, and that is why normally the number of persons, is dwindling. In the local elections, people in my constituency who I have helped and who claim that they would support the UIC. When the time come, the money that they run with the party that was running the money. And so they'll be running money again, the usual stuff, and the people will once again fall for it and then come back later on and then tell you how life hard.
Yeah, we'll go back to that source.
Yeah, it's life hard, and they say, boy, life hard, and Mr. P. We can do for me. We can do.
Yeah, we can't do nothing again because I try to help you, but you don't want it.
What you can do for me. So I'm used to hearing that,
Yeah.
1 second, Mr. What, Mr. Neil? What's going on here? Welcome, Sir Neil. We can't hear you though. You're muted.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure.
I was backstage chatting away thinking I was being heard.
Please, tell us your thoughts. What's on your mind?
I was thinking that one of the strategies that the government uses is misrepresenting facts, misrepresenting what is actually happening. For example, you will hear the JLP boasting that they have not brought about any new taxes, nor have they raised any taxes, but they have not educated the people about the trick that they pulled under Nigel Clark when Nigel Clark realigned the public sector wages, absorbed allowances into basic salary. So now people are rejoicing that they're getting more money now as part of their basic salary. But by joining their allowances and absorbing it in the basic salary, now they add more money and more money to be taxed. So that whatever percentage of tax, whether it's 25% or 33% based on where you are on the income scale, you have more of that now to be taken out as tax. So that Jamaican people did not even realize that they were giving away more of their money from tax, and the tax was not changed from 15%. It's a trick. The Prime Minister has also made it his goal to hand out houses to a few hundred persons.
Hold on. I don't want you to jump off that first topic yet. Make a note. You cannot speak on that. Do you realize what Mr. Neil just said? He's pointing out that even those of us who should be able to reason, those of us who are in the middle class, those of us who have diplomas, certificates, and degrees, we didn't realize that the Prime Minister fooled we. That the Prime Minister amalgamates our salaries and benefits and whatever allowances and tell us that we are better off. But we get a higher number in one section and a lower number to zero in the other section. But that higher number now is taxable, while the previous number wasn't fully taxable. And so without increasing the tax rate, he has increased the tax intake. And so he can tell you now, say, I'm going to give you tax back. I'm going to give you a tax give back. But hold on now, why did I give you a tax back? Your road bad, your hospital bad, your school bad, your policing bad, and your whole life bad. But you're going to get the NIDS and get 20,000 back. What a trick. But I guess it's because we're fully done, so I can do that, So no wonder they make sure it's like 82% of our children failing in school. You can't do them to get the bright people. You can only do them to get the dunce people. So Mr. Neil, is it that Jamaica is getting more and more fully dunce? Is that what you're telling? Are we getting more fully dunce? Is that the problem here? More fully dunce. And they love it because the more dunce we are, is the more they'll be elected, because the UIC requires a certain degree of intellect.
Exactly.
Because we're talking to people at an intellectual level. We're saying, here's what has been done to you. I have people telling me, I saw Mr. Wright on a discussion the other night with Bolo. I must tell you, I couldn't listen to the whole thing. I had to turn it off. Mr. Wright was on a conversation with Bolo, somebody who I respect a lot, and they were talking, and Bolo was saying to Mr. Wright that new people in the PNP now. So you can't take the things of the past and use that to assess the party today, because the people in it today had nothing to do with what was done in the past.
What?
That was Boller's reasoning.
Who is new?
I almost drop off my chair when I hear it. I had to turn it off because I couldn't believe my ears. I couldn't believe. And what hit me is that I then was doing some more checking on some other platforms, and I heard other people saying the same thing. So what they're trying to do is to neutralize the UIC's message, because the UIC's message is very historical. We come from a place of understanding the past so you can project better the future. We come from the place of Marcus Garvey, which said, if you don't know your history, if you don't know your roots, where you come from, then you're lost in the grand scheme of things. And it goes to Mr. Douglas Harper's point. Earlier, he wrote us, he says, those that have moved away from the colonial tool are replaced by young new blood. And I'm seeing quite a few young people who don't know nothing. I am sure they don't know nothing. Because if you notice in school, we do not teach Jamaican history in our school. What we teach, what we teach, I will call it history, we teach that we were slaves, Christopher Columbus come, Spanish, the British, slavery, and then independence, full stop. That is history. They don't teach analytical history, that is, okay, through that now, what has happened with these people called the two colonial parties? How did they emerge? What was the relationship between them and the plantocracy? How does that translate into what we now know as the PSOJ oligarchy today and the Gleaner Company, which is a big part of the media back then and today? What is the relationship? How did the different prime ministers and administrations impact our economy? For example, the Jamaican people have experienced massive inflation over the life of Jamaica. So much so that if your father, Mr. Neil, you're in your 30s, I believe, if your father had saved up all of his earnings from the day that you were born until now, it would worth less than half of what it could have bought for him before. Which means we have discouraged savings in Jamaica. Because the government, by policy, have been devaluing the citizens. Because when they devalue your money, they're devaluing you. Because remember, the money represents your time and labor, your effort. So when they dilute your money and devalue it, they're devaluing you, and they're robbing you of your energy and your freedom, because you would have expended all of this energy to earn this money. And because of government policy, that money has no value because they have wiped out the value of that money. So they're stealing from you. But they know that most of us will struggle to even understand what we're talking about. And so by the time you understand this, you're already going to vote for them all 50 times. You understand?
Could I add something there, sir? It would add to part of this strategy that the JLP is doing, because one of the things that they use as their laurel in their wreath is that there is less unemployment, that they have provided more jobs. But then what happens concurrently is that there are more people working, but the money is worth even less than when they started working. So these people are living even worse than when they were unemployed because of the rate of inflation. And on top of that, they are being underpaid on top of the high inflation.
Absolutely.
So it's not really an achievement.
Plus the formula for calculating unemployment is flawed. What they've done, remember, the way they calculate unemployment is they look, and by the way, it's a sampling, it's not a truth, it's not an absolute number, it's a sample. So they do a sampling. So if your sampling is wrong, the number is wrong, okay? Because it's sampling. And again, here's the problem, Mr. Neil and fellow members. When I talk about things like these, if you have a population that don't even understand basic maths, much more statistics, to talk about sampling and is the sampling accurate, is the sample size appropriate? The average student in Jamaica run away from doing arithmetic much more to do statistics and probabilities. But the sampling may be incorrect. But worse than that, did you know that they don't count anybody who says that they're no longer looking for work because they have given up? So if you have given up on looking for work, you're excluded from the number of unemployed. So all they have to do is to determine that when them call you, you say, whatever, we talk already, right? Just exclude you from the number. So now you have a lower unemployment base. So your unemployment rate is going to be smaller. You understand? There's also the other side of it. Many Jamaicans who would have been unemployed have also left Jamaica.
Yeah.
Also, our population number is declining. So if the number is declining, then you have less. Let me put it this way. Supposing the 4 million Jamaicans who are overseas were still here, you know how high our unemployment rate would be?
Chaos.
So we're losing so many, and our population is now on decline. Or before now, our population was increasing. Now our population is on the decline. And you're measuring now a number based on a declining number. And you have many people now, once they indicate that they're no longer looking for it because they've given up, they will hustle, they will do something else. They're no longer look for work. You take them out of the number. So you now have a fake unemployment number that you're now touting as an actual success. It's a failure. And you can see the failure in the society in general. But I want to hear from Ms. Hay and Mr. Willie and Mr. Wright. Why when it's so quiet? Lady and gentlemen, Mr. Willie, Mr. Wright, Ms. Hay.
I'm here, sir. I'm just listening to your insights.
What are your thoughts? Let us hear your insights too. What do you think about the?
Well, I'm here just thinking about solutions. To change. Sorry, I just lost my train of thought. But just to change the outcome for the next elections, and just thinking about the target segment, who we can target, or to just bring about a different outcome. But I'm listening to you, sir.
Yeah, so you are the solution lady. So you want to get the solution.
Yes.
Before we get to solution, we want to talk a little bit about the strategy of the two. And we have touched on the strategy of the JLP. And Mr. Neil, you have to finish a point, and then we're going to look at the strategy of the PNP, and then we're going to come to the UIC, which is where Ms. Hay wants to be. She wants to look at the solution. So Mr. Neil, finish your thought for me quickly.
I don't even remember, but it's basically about misleading the people and stating false victories that the people buy into and want to vote for the party.
Right. I'll remind you, Mr. Neely, we're going to talk about the houses that that are being built.
Oh yes, so a few hundred persons get houses, and the JLP counts that as a victory, and people who see that as a victory for the JLP and for Jamaicans. But the reality is that instead of providing affordable housing for everyone, or a way for everyone to have adequate and humane, dignified living conditions, our government chooses to hand out a few handouts to a few people, and then we see that as good. But we do have the capacity to ensure that every single Jamaican lives in a dwelling that is befitting for a human being. And they call it as a victory, but it's not. It is more of enslaving the people by falsely stating how poor we are and that we can't do any better.
Yeah, the sad part about it, is that it is so. We so don't know what we could have that we settle for something very, very anemic. I mean, when I have a hard time watching the news, listening to the news, because we have politicians who are talking to us like we're not even basic school kids who should talk like this. They talk to us in a way that suggests that we are stupid, that we are not, we're just so little, we're just unaware of what we could and should have as a country. I hear them talking about cleaning up a little space, and it's a big deal about cleaning up a little spot that has been dirty for years. And you hear people say, "Oh my God, yeah man, may I work on the program, Mr. There, man, a good thing and whatever." And I'm like, they clean up one small piece, and it's a temporary clean. It's only for a news item. It's just for the news cycle to say they're doing something so that it overshadows the UIC's message of this massively clean Jamaica from top to bottom. And they want to take that narrative away, but they're never going to really give us a clean Jamaica. That is where it's not a big deal that you're cleaning up a piece because it's a norm for the place to be clean. It's not a big deal. The things that are making a big, they go to one community and open a pipe, and it's a big deal. It's a ribbon cutting to open a pipe for some water in the 21st. It's a big deal. Come on, people. Those are not big deal. Those are a crying shame. We should be running them. I hate to say we should have stoned them when they come to cut ribbon to open one pipe. We should have moved. Come on, tell us, man, with that. Go on proper stuff that is running normally. Not this little one day, little thing come cut ribbon about you're opening water pipe and you're doing. It looks like, you ever see when you're watching some documentary, and I hate to say this, but they'll go to Africa and they'll show you some horrible little place and some white people they come and put a well in and little water come out into the people. Hey, because little water. Come on, man. Come on. This is Jamaica we're talking about. This is 21st century we're talking about. You come in to clap for some water. You give somebody a little matches box house, and you bring them and parade them out on the platform, and it looks so despicable, so low. And you present this little house to them, a one-room house, and it's sorry, man, it's unacceptable. I find it so belittling the way they speak about us, the way they deal with us, and stuff. It's unacceptable. Mr. Wright, you wanted to say something. Winston Wright.
Yes, sir. I wanted to share that the reason why I was so quiet is that I've just been sitting here thinking that their strategy did not start at their last election win in 2000. Well, either of the Colonial Party didn't start at the last election cycle or the one before that, but started more than 80 odd years ago, where they created a very elaborate system, a ginormous exorbitant system to create this exact result that we're getting. And so it's not a one election cycle or one term strategy, but a generational strategy that they've been using courtesy of the colonial masters. And persons might think I'm sounding standard, but if we think about it, the continued mismanagement that happened here, and I like to tell people that Jamaica started as a slave colony, a place to be exploited for the benefit of the crown, and they would send their whether they're illegitimate kids or they're bad behaving public servants here who would seek to personally enrich themselves. They would find some loophole in the regulations and the laws and they'd exploit the country. And from there, it continued. And even into self-government, where now the neo-colonialists, the locals are in charge, and they took that system and exploited it for personal gains, mismanaged the resources, destroyed what was there to be destroyed or could be destroyed. And here we are today with healthcare failing, education failing, revenues being wasted, infrastructure failing. And then we get these grandiose announcements. Oh, we are building 15 hospitals? Okay, if you remain, we have people dying on the floor. I've been at
Yes.
regional hospital in the past month, and I go into a room where there's like 30 people that are severely ill, all riding in agony, in varying state of undress, no care whatsoever, in a room sitting up, while the health minister is struggling to explain the billions in cost overrun on that project, which included accusations of impropriety. And there still isn't a proper explanation as to what happened. And I know I'm leading into somebody else's ministry. But the point is this: there has not been one sensible push by the population to hold him accountable. There's another doctor, something another, that was on social media saying, oh, we choose our prime minister. And I'm thinking, how can he have a doctor to his name? How can he be a doctor of letters and believe that we, the people, choose our government? All right? And then when I tell people that, no, we elect a member of parliament and he goes to parliament and choose a prime minister based on the hope that he will receive some other favor, a ministry that he can curry favor to create personal enrichment. And then the light bulb goes off in their head.
Very slowly.
Very slowly.
Yeah, it takes too long. I mean, one of the things I have a problem with, Mr. Wright, is that I find the most dishonest people in Jamaica are the ones who are the brightest ones. They're the most dishonest people. Recently, I did a post. Lisa Anna put out an article about how bad government is, how it's full of nepotism and favoritism and inefficiencies and all of that, which we all know already. All of us know that in general. But she has articulated it well, as she's quite able. I mean, she's very effective at communicating and all of that kind of stuff. But I had to take her to task on it because I had to ask the question, because in the article she also said that she was naive, and that in her naivety she went in thinking that she could do good, only to find out that she was blocked at every turn and was told that you don't do this and you don't do that. This are so things run. Fine. However, she has remained in it. So she remained in it. And then I pointed out that there are only two kind of people in Jamaica who vote for the two colonial parties. Only two types of people. And there are really three groups now in Jamaica. Group number one is a very big group, between 60 to 70%, who don't vote or might hesitate in the vote, but generally they don't vote. They stay out of the process. Generally speaking, 60 to 70%. That's a majority who don't have any confidence in these two parties. Then you have about 30 to 40% who do vote. That 30 to 40% who will vote, from careful analysis now over the years and looking at it, I realize there are only two types of people who would vote. Right now, Mr. Douglas Harper pointed out that there are a lot of young people who are getting involved. Very ignorant. They have absolutely no idea. They're going off something other than reality. They're not looking at any reality at all. Because there's no sensible, sane person who has carefully evaluated what has happened in Jamaica over the last 80 years, who could possibly bring themselves to vote for these two parties. So you must either be very ignorant or very evil. Now, people take exception to that because evil is a strong word. How dare you say evil? I'm not afraid. My back is broad. Why do I say evil? How can you know the history of Jamaica, the history of these two parties and what they have done? For example, take one thing, just the crime problem alone, the crime monster, where you're hearing now 4 or 5 people being murdered in one instance at a time in this country. I just saw a video recently of a young man that's go up to another young man after he steps off a bus and bust him 2 times and then run off. This is in Spanish Town, broad daylight, and he shoot him twice in public and run off. This is the Jamaica we have created. Now, it's not poverty why we have the crime problem in Jamaica, because you have countries who are much poorer than Jamaica and has much less crime. So poverty is not the primary driver of crime. The primary driver of crime is corruption. When young people come into this world and they see the disparity created by corruption, by political leaders who are thieves, who instigate wars in communities, who do evil things and pay them to do evil things, they become evil. And when the school system fails to give them a level of thinking that would cause them to be elevated, and we're graduating mostly people who are not mentally developed in the way that they should. And when we're losing the best of us quickly to migration or economic refugee status, you're creating the conditions for a very crime-ridden society. When you have parents having children who the parents themselves are not equipped to be parents because of how the whole system has developed, so these two parties, they have created the crime monster that we have in Jamaica. So how could you then vote for them? Let's say, for example, today you're considering voting for the PNP. What basis will you use? You're going to have an ignorant basis to vote. You're going to have to say, oh, I like Mark, him look like him going to do something better or whatever, or something like that. You could not possibly have any serious information about the PNP and then vote for them. Because if you know they have gotten 18.5 years in office where they had every opportunity to fix all the fundamental problems, and instead they left Jamaica with 40,000 less private businesses that they destroyed and hundreds of thousands of lives that they destroyed, people committing suicide because of their policies. You understand? So if you look at that, you have to know, wipe it out of your consciousness to do that. So then you must be, if you know that and still vote for them, it's because you're evil. If you don't know that, then of course you're ignorant. And so those are the only two types of people who are voting for these two parties, because they can't know. If you knew what the JLP did in the 1960s in terms of stealing all of that money that should have built schools for our children and causing us to have overcrowded classrooms for years, to this day we're suffering from that one massive theft that took place in the 60s, where we built half the number of schools for twice the price. And all of those who suffered from overcrowded classrooms, shift system, you couldn't get a full day of school properly because you have to be in a shift system. That was all because of government policy of theft and corruption. If you understood that they racked up the debt to more than $2 trillion and that money was not spent on us, it went somewhere else and made many of them wealthy and rich, while today, to this very day, we're suffering because the money that should have made us better paid interest on that debt. There's a time when Jamaica was paying more in interest than we were spending on the rest of the economy. All of that money that should have been spent on us to make our society clean, our society orderly, our society well-educated, our society very productive, all of that money was stolen by these two parties, and we're now suffering. How can an 18-year-old child who know that now go dip their finger in the ink and vote for these two parties, know that they are responsible for the suffering that they have gone through and their parents have gone through and their grandparents? They couldn't vote for them. But unfortunately, these young people don't have a clue, and some of them won't sit still long enough to be taught. They simply go with the quick thing, the t-shirt and some money and some feel-good things that they throw at them to make them feel good. You know, you're a part of something and you're getting some exciting words. No substance, because if you look around your society, you can see the depravity. You talk about development. Where's the development? New buildings going up for Chinese, or is development? Buildings going up where you could never afford it. How can most of the young people, they'll never be able to buy a house because they'll have to work 100 years to pay for that. So what are you voting for? You must be mentally incapacitated to be voting for these two people, or you have bought into corruption, because there are many Jamaicans who have bought into corruption. So they're a part of the corruption machinery, and so they have to vote because they are supporting that corruption. And I call that evil. Sorry, who else want to speak before we move to the UIC, the thing there?
If I may, through you, Sir President. I've been speaking with some young people recently, and they are all motivated. The ones I've spoken to vote for PNP. I asked a question: what does the PNP stand for? They weren't sure. They weren't able to answer. I asked them if they understand what socialism means and how socialism degrades an economy. And I asked them to go and look at the patterns of what happened in Jamaica when one or the other is in government. And just one went and came and saw that under a socialist government, not only in Jamaica but around the world, there's high taxation. There is government controlling the production that happens in factories and other financial institutions, which causes them to crumble and not perform as well because government is not suited to run business. And other things that are really specific to socialism and democratic socialism, which is actually a farce. You can't have democratic socialism. Don't make sense. And then I asked them to look at JLP and look at JLP's constitution, which speaks to its authoritarianness. Most people don't pay attention to patterns of government, nor do they pay attention to the documents that govern the party. And whether you vote for one or the other is ignorance if you're not looking with your eyes at what is going on around you. And you're not looking at what the party stands for based on their founding documents, then what is it that you're using to make the decision to vote for one or the other? So it's ignorance, really, and otherwise being evil, as you said.
So quickly, somebody tell me now, what is the PNP strategy to win this election? Then we're going to come quickly to the UICs. What's the PNP strategy? It's a very simple one. Go ahead, somebody quickly tell me what you see as the strategy of the PNP.
The PNP strategy is to decry the JLP as much as they can, because I have not seen any credible policy except when they're just poking holes at as much as they can in anything that the JLP has done. That is their strategy.
So their strategy is for us to vote out the JLP, not to vote them in, meaning you're voting out the JLP because you hate the JLP because they've now gotten you to see what you should hate, but they're not giving you anything to vote for. There's nothing to vote for, just to vote against. So their strategy, in my opinion, is very simple. It's to list all that was bad under the JLP while offering the usual campaign gimmicks of novel promises to fix all that they and the JLP should have fixed over the last 8 years. They're asking us to elect them to do what they should have done before, but have not done in over 80 years of being in government and opposition. The only party that ever have been given 18 and a half years straight in Jamaica, and they have nothing to show for it except FinSAC, which is nothing to show. I mean, FinSAC is a complete travesty. So let's now look at the UIC strategy. What do you think the UIC strategy should be? Ms. A, it's now your turn. You want to talk about what we should do. And Mr. Willie, we're coming to you now. What do you think our strategy should be? Go ahead, Ms. A.
Sure. Target those young people. Find a way to meet them where they're at.
Sure. How? Tell us the how. How do we meet them where they're at?
Well, they're mostly on TikTok, so we're there. We're there, but I don't know. We just have to promote in a way that it would catch them, and they would want to dig into it more and find out more. I don't know how we're gonna do it. It's I have to do some research on that. But
what do you think? What do you think the young people want to hear? And I hesitate to ask that question because I know I've been involved now in politics long enough to know if tomorrow you give me $10 million to spend, I can create a bandwagon of young people running behind me outside. If you give me $10 million to go spend out in Elam and Brace River and Santa Cruz and Balaclava, they'll all be jumping up and down with me and say, wow, Mr. Patterson have a great following if you give me $10 million to go and do that. But it won't be real, it won't be authentic. It will be fabricated. They'll be following me for the money. So how do you get young people to become sane, rational, aware, and understand what they're fighting for so they can fight for it, not because you offer them Kentucky Fried Chicken and some drinks and some t-shirt and a cap.
We have to catch them with something. We have to catch them with things that interest them, you know, to expose.
Like what? Vibes Cartel?
No.
That's what PNP is using. They got Vibes Cartel on stage. And they got what's his name? L.A. Lewis on stage. And they got all these, and they got what the other one name again? The one in the maroon there, the maroon chief up there in a compound.
I forgot his name.
Corey. That's what they did. That's how they're trying to fool the people. Now, what do you think about all of these people who they got on stage to help fool the people? Andre Stephens, they got all these people on stage. Why do you think they bring all these people on stage? Why do you think Mark Nolan went and got Vibes Cartel, Corey, Andre, what's his name again? L.A. Lewis. Why they got all these people on stage? What is the purpose of that?
Distraction.
Yeah, they're meeting the youths where they are. They're meeting the people where they are. The people idolize these individuals, different segments. And they had the maroon segment that they went after, and it's two corners. They have the L.A. Lewis in one corner, and you have the Corey in the other corner, and then they have the Vibes Cartel. So they're trying to use vibes to win over the people. So it's not substance. So they're in the business of tricking people. Should we try to trick people as well? Should we try to trick people?
No. Of course not.
What do we do? How do we reach the young people?
We're just going to figure out.
How do you reach the adults? How do you reach the there are for every what we have now, for every 3 voters, there's roughly 7 who will not vote. How do we find a way to break through to that 7 or that 6 who will not vote and give them a reason to vote? How do you reach them without the 500 million that the PSOJ will be giving to the 2 colonial parties?
That is for us to find out.
All right. Mr. Willie, do you have any thoughts? How do we reach the Jamaican people without the 500 million from the PSOJ oligarchs? And without the news media constantly telling them about us?
I will say quickly,
Yes.
surveys, you know, getting out there more. I know we have a presence here in the media or, you know, online or whatnot, but getting out there more. I find that when I'm out and I'm asking, do you know about the UIC? And mostly it's older people, but they're like, no, they don't know who that is. And, you know, people are really stuck in traditions, but getting out there in numbers and collaborating with reputable businesses that can back us, just having more exposure, I would say.
All right. Any thoughts on that from anyone? Norman Clark said, go up on the road. Okay, good. Let's talk about that. How do we go up on the road? Miss Barrett, you ready to go up on the road?
Oh, yes. Oh, I am so ready.
Mr. Willie, you ready to go up on the road? And who are you going to go with? Where?
So I'll share.
Repeat that one. Kind of miss me a bit slightly. After you just repeat those few words for me.
You'll catch up. Go ahead, Miss Barrett.
So I was having a conversation with one of our team members yesterday, and it went like this. So we are going to make a plan we want to go to each parish once per month. So 14 months, and you're done the 14 parish, and then you just start go around again. UIC doesn't have the funds, so we're not going to charter no bus nor no car to go around. So it means that we will have to spend our money. I don't have a problem spending the money to go around because I desperately need the change. I have grandchildren. The adults, them figure out themselves and used to the whatever is happening. But I really would love my grandchildren to grow up in a different environment. The environment which UIC wants to create. So you have to put in to get out. You know, you can't sit on the sideline and wait for everybody to do it, and then you just come and reap the benefits. If you can, you do. So the person and I, we were talking, and that was one of the suggestions. So you go out and you meet like in the square. Now, you know, especially country place where they call the square. Most times it's like a 4 roads where the supermarket there or the big shop, or, you know, might have one gas station or so. You go to a place where persons meet regularly and enough. You go with you're going to wear your t-shirt, you're going to carry your flyers, and you have to make sure so you know the UIC policies like the palm of your hand. So when you're asked questions, you know, look like an idiot, you know what you say to the people. You also have to bring your charm. Yeah.
All right.
And your truth.
I hear you. I mean, that's the having the charm and stuff, I think, is the easy part. You guys are all charming. I'm more keen on the logistics, you know, in terms of the actual, you know, physically, you know, getting it done. We have done a few of that. The UIC has done at least 2 all island tours already. Many of us would have forgotten about it because it's so long ago. We did it in I know we did one in December 2022, and we did one in 2021. It was very, you know, it's very time consuming, right? And it was, you know, a lot of resources to do that. We did charter a couple, I think 2 buses or so, and we went around and thing. But I'd love to see that happen and how it goes. I mean, you have to forgive me. See, when I think about projects, I'm a project planner. I'm a systems person. So for me, planning projects takes planning. So you're talking about, you know, planning logistics, planning the, you know, material. For example, you see how we did the March on Parliament. It wasn't willy-nilly. You know, we had everything was charted, every street, the timing, the placards. It wasn't, I don't like to do things that are not planned properly. And you have seen me in action. You know that I get very irritated in meetings when we come and people are not prepared. And in fact, back in the early years of the UIC, I get into a lot of trouble with our members, like executive members and that, because our people hate accountability. They don't love to be accountable. They don't like to follow plans and to one thing we always did after every project. I don't do it anymore because I realize it doesn't work for us. I used to always have us say what went right, what went wrong, and who was responsible for both. And so we had to go through for every project, what did we do? So what part of it went correctly? What part didn't go according to plan? Who was responsible? And we'll talk it through. Now, for me, why that is so important, you then build, you keep learning and growing. I come from a school where you continuous improvement is critical and so on. But I find we're not good at that. So sometimes, I guess when we're planning, for some people, it's easy to just kind of just do something. Just get up and just do something. Lord, and I mean that, I'm being honest with you. When I just do something, it must be thought out and it must be planned and so on. So I would want to figure out now, what will be my impact of doing what you're proposing? Who is going? So for example, let's say 3 of us go, and we stand up in a Maypen Square, and we spend 2 hours in Maypen Square, and we look like some itinerant preacher. You know those preachers back in the day who would just go and say, fire and brimstone and gotta come, and you're going off. I know you just talk and whatever. If you just walk about your business and go buy your stuff and whatever. How impactful is that? I'm not too sure how many converts he got in the process, but I'm just wondering, what will be, the impact. Now, somebody says flyers. Okay, if you ever do the math for 100 flyers to get 100 or 1,000 flyers and do the math of the price. Now, we've done it before, by the way, and we went into, for example, Old Harbor. We had about 15 of us that went to Old Harbor. That's just one of the many places. We stopped there and we gave out flyers. The heart-wrenching part of it is after you walk up there and give out flyers, and you're coming back down, you see all the flyers and stuff. And it's painful because the price, the cost of it, and you don't have the money. You just kind of scrunch and put the money together. So I used to tell people, why not just send the electronic copy? Meet people. When we had Naika, it's okay. We'll go around and we say, okay, you get the person's name, hi ma'am, whatever, shake and talk to people, and you get their telephone number. And then we send them, we put them in, in the phone, and we send them out the electronic stuff. Now that was my strategy. I preferred that approach but at first the group was like, no, we need to go to the paper. When them see the cost, then quickly says, okay, let's go back to the electronic. Because it's very expensive.
It is.
So we have to, and Desmond says fund drive. Absolutely, Desmond. And so right now we have a fund drive going, and the fund drive is our Christmas banquet. And here's the thing, how well is that fund drive going? Right now we've got 151 or so tickets sold and pledges received. We need 300 for us to have a good fund. It takes a lot of energy and effort, Can you imagine, let's say you put out tons of energy and effort to do whatever the fundraising drive is. But when you look at the money that you get for the effort, and the amount of man hours and time you put in, and then what you have, let's say you just break even, meaning you spend $1, you make back $1. What is the point? Right? So again, all of these things have to be, and at one time, one lady suggested, let's do bake sales. Now, I'm an accountant, as I tell you before. I'm a systems man. When we look at the factors and say, okay, the time it takes and the amount and whatever, when you finish, what do you have to show? Yes, you may have felt good, you did this thing, but what is the actual production, right? So what you guys have to do, you guys have to say, Mr. Patterson, please go into the back room and sit down and lock the door, and then you just do your thing, and then let me see the result.
That was the plan. That was the plan, sir.
Yes, because if you come to me, I'm going to analyze it and I'm going to whatever. So nobody come to me. Just do it, and then let me see. Oh my gosh, they went to Old Harbor or to Maypen or to Kitson Town or to wherever, and look, we have $2 million in just one day, and we have 500 members. Fine, whatever it is. So go ahead and do it. My friends, we're 5 minutes past the time, and I'm going to have to cut it off now because I do have another engagement, and I'm 5 minutes behind on that. But I want to thank all of you very much for being on to our public meeting, and stay tuned to hear when the next public meeting is. It's supposed to be every Tuesday, but it really depends. I want the candidates to come on, but they're shy. And if they're not coming on, there's no point in us coming here every week and everybody not come on. So I want all the candidates to be here, and you won't see my face again unless you're seeing more of the candidates. So when the candidates are ready to come on, I will be on to join them. If them still want to stay in the background and see my face come up and chat, you're not going to see me again. So candidates, all of you out there, this is your place. It's here that the people want to come and see you. So this forum is for you. It's not for me. You have all heard a lot from me already. It's time to hear from the rest of you. So next week, if we're on, you'll hear from Mr. Willie, Miss Hay, Miss Barrett, and others. But I will not be on until many more of the candidates are on. So have a good night, and I'll leave you with this.
Hi everyone, this is Charlotte, and I hope you're doing great. I'm just stopping by to say hello and to remind you that UIC's annual Christmas fundraising banquet will be December 14th, 2024, starting at 5 p.m. This year, our location will be Summit Kingston, formerly called Knutsford Court Hotel, which is at 11 Ruthven Road, Kingston 10. As you may know, UIC Jamaica is 100% committed to good governance and aims to unite, liberate, and empower our people. If you desire to see Jamaica become the paradise it should be, clean, safe, beautiful, and orderly, then your contribution of 10,000 Jamaican dollars or 65 US per adult and 5,000 Jamaican dollars or 35 US per child will help us to provide a new leadership, a new system for a new Jamaica. We promise an evening with lots of fun, lively entertainment, great speeches, and delicious food. While it would be my greatest desire to see you all in person, I know some may not make it home for Christmas, but your donation will give someone less fortunate the opportunity to attend. Thank you so much for taking part in helping us to educate and work with our citizens to restore and in some cases rebuild our beautiful country. Here are your options to purchase your ticket. You can go to www.uicjamaica.com and pay online, or you can send payment via Western Union, MoneyGram, Zelle, Cash App, or bank transfer. Call 876-293-0812 for additional information. To RSVP, you can email us at info@uicjamaica.com, or you can WhatsApp us at 876-293-0812. Thanks a million for making this possible. One Jamaica, stronger together.
Okay, good night, everyone. See you again soon. Take care. Thank you.